So today I've got this great kit. This is an ELENCO kit, and it is an analog multimeter. Now you remember I built a multimeter on camera, and I failed at it. I destroyed it at the very end. So this is my redemption. I'm going to try to build this one and not destroy it. I think it's going to be harder to destroy because it's an analog meter. But yeah, I was surprised it came in such a big box, giant box. So the strange thing about this is, so you can find this kit in lots of different places. It's a model M1250K, and I looked all over for the very, very cheapest one, and weirdly, Walmart. Walmart had these for, I don't remember what it was, something like 23 bucks or something, and like free shipping. It was like a really special deal or something. Anyway, I got it from Walmart. I don't think I've ever bought from Walmart before. I'm just not one of those people. All right, so it says 29 ranges, measures AC, DC volts, DC current, ohms, diodes, decibels, measures diodes? Cool. Decibels and transistors. Oh, transistor tester too. Wow. Whoa, what's this? It's a big giant meter. Oh, this is just the instructions. Wow. Dial scale reading exercise. Oh, so we can learn how, oh, I see. The instructions are in here. And this is just some type of exercise that you do. Oh, what if the pointer's on J? Oh, I see. So if the pointer's on J, then you're supposed to read the ohms function. And so you have to know which scale to go to. Oh, here's the ohms scale. Anyway, teaches you how to read analog scales. So that's pretty cool. If you've never read an analog scale before, they are a bit different. So let's see what we've got in the kit here. Instruction manual. Comes with battery. And here's the meter. Ooh. Ooh, nice. Oh, here's the circuit board. So this is very cool. Okay. And comes with some bunch of resistors. Comes with some wire. Oh, it's got 2 sets of batteries. That's interesting. A lot of times the the volts function or something will be done with one battery, then the ohms function will be done with higher current batteries, because you need to pump a lot of current to measure ohms with and stuff. So here's some hardware. Oh, it comes with solder. Comes with its own solder if you want to use theirs. This is really hard solder. I like my solder better. Yeah, so let's get this arranged a bit here, and I'll go through the assembly. Let's just take a quick look here. Do these steps first. Assemble the buzzer. Oh, it's got a buzzer. Oh, it's for continuity maybe. That's for an analog meter. That's pretty fancy. Installing the battery. Putting it in the box. Yeah. Okay. So let me rearrange things here, and we'll start the build. Okay, it says do these steps first. Place the PC board on a table with the copper side facing up, and insert the 6 transistor sockets. Transistor sockets? 6 transistor sockets. What do they mean by that? 6 transistor sockets. How strange. Oh, I see. So on the front here is the transistor sockets for the measure the HFE. So there's 6 pins here, and they want you to load that first. Not 6 pins, but 6 little tubes. And I do have those in a bag, so let's see if I can't do that. Okay. Tricky. All right, so it's got these little bitty copper tubes that somehow you're going to measure transistors with. I don't know how that works. Let me get a little piece of wire here. So, yeah, there's nothing in there. I guess you just kind of jam the wire in there, hope it makes electrical contact. So that's a bit cheesy. But those go here, and it wants us to solder those all on. Foil side of PC board, okay. Foil side, and it wants us to put these in. Oh, okay. So we do need to put this on a flat surface. All right. So we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to do it down here. And these little tubes we're going to have to solder down like that. All right, turn on the soldering iron. All right. Okay. Where's the solder? Oh. All right. I'll just get these on first and worry about if they're straight later. We can always reflow the solder and make them straight. I was watching somebody review electronic books. I did a video on that. I recommended Horowitz and Hill and the ARRL handbook, and so did he. And there was another book that he recommended, and I'm familiar with the author. The author is Malvino. Malvino has been around a long time, and I think Malvino is more, if I'm remembering it right, Malvino was more like a junior college type of textbook, not necessarily a double E, electrical engineering bachelor's degree type of textbook. And I think I had a roommate who had Malvino. Anyway, I was interested in it, and I went to Abe Books. You know about Abe Books, they used bookseller. And somebody had a copy of Malvino for $4.95 free shipping. Now, I don't even know how you ship for $4.95, irregardless of free or not. And so I went ahead and ordered it, so that'll be interesting. Maybe I'll find something interesting in that book. All right. This one could use a little bit more solder on the end, I think. I think I would like it with a little more solder. All right. Make sure he is straight. Or she's straight. There. Okay, so I guess the tubes are in. All right, then it says I should put in the input sockets, which are these things for the banana jacks. And it says I should do that by putting them in. There's one rolled edge here, so I'm assuming the rolled edge goes up, because you want to have a rolled edge. I don't think they want them in this way, although that could be. It's not very clear in the picture which way is which. Maybe there's a photograph. Oh. Yeah, I think the rolled edge needs to be underneath. No, this shows the rolled edge on top. This shows the rolled edge on top. I think it comes down to whether it'll fit in the case or not once we get done. So let's open the case up if I can. Yeah, there we go. So will the rolled edge fit inside here or not? No, it doesn't. See, it has to go this way. Otherwise, it's not going to work. If the rolled edge is this way, it won't go in. It must go like that. All right, good thing I checked, because that'd be a pain to have to remove those. All right, so those will go like that. Does that make sense? The rolled edge? The rolled edge is now on the bottom. Okay. I learned about another series of books also. Somebody reviewing books. And it's like four different books the author wrote. And one of them is about building transistor radios, and one of them is about beginning electronics. One of them is, I think, about troubleshooting. And the author's name seemed familiar to me. It's a very unusual name, and indeed it was the person that I knew. We worked together when I was building barcode equipment. He was the analog engineer, and I was the embedded system guy. I was doing the microprocessors and stuff. Ronald Kwan, Q-U-A-N. So look him up on Amazon, Ronald Kwan. He's got 4 books for sale. And sounds like he's also teaching a bit at Stanford. He's got lots of industry experience for sure. I saw him, I think, 2 years ago, just before the COVID shutdown. There's a flea market, and electronics flea market in town, and he's always there. And I saw him and said hi. That was about it. He seemed to be busy. He seemed to be on his way to do something. But I've seen him a few times at the flea markets over the years. He likes the junk as much as I do. All right, so this will now go in here, and then those will go in there. Okay, so that all makes sense. Okay, so I like that. All right, so let's do that first. So we did that first. All right, and apply enough, the heat goes all around. That looks good. All right. Now what do we want to do? We want to now insert components. All right, so let's change the camera here. All right, let's get our components out. It says L1, a 57 millihenry coil. Interesting. I wonder what you have coil for. Maybe the HF test? HFE? Okay, L1. See figure B. Figure B, foil side, coil side. It's going to go on the foil side. Ah, I see, L1. I want you to mount it on the other side of the board. Why, I don't know. L1. Okay, I need to bend the leads on it though. Where's my pliers? There we go. Get the length right here. Oh, there's two holes. Why is there two holes? They're both the same. Why there's two holes? All right. And it wants me to put it on the bottom side. All right. If it's got to be that way, it's got to be that way. Okay. Q3, that's a transistor. So the parts are all laid out on this card, and we're just doing them in order here from the bottom up. So some bent leads, Q3, and the instructions actually point to where on the, there's a list here on the side, and then it points you to actually where to put the parts. Very hard to go wrong on this one. All right, so I've got a story for you today. If you like stories. This story takes place in 1895, a long time ago, and the story's about my great-grandfather. This takes place in Northern California in the in the Western days, right? So you have to think of people like in the movies, right? They're 6-shooters on their side and riding into town to the bar, and all. Everybody's on horses and stuff. So that's kind of the story of the time frame when this thing is taking place. Now, my great-grandfather was a rancher. He had a sheep ranch in Northern California. Pretty nice place. If you know anything about California, there's a place up in Northern California where all the redwood trees grow. Very famous place called the Avenue of the Giants. Highway 101, the old Highway 101, not the new one, but the old Highway 101 went through the Avenue of the Giants, where there are these big trees. And Lucas used that location to film the Ewok scene with them fighting in those big trees. So you've seen it in the movies. And there's a town right there in the Avenue of the Giants. It's just 5 miles off of the Avenue of the Giants, called Bryceland. Bryceland is a beautiful little tiny town. And he had a ranch. Now this is 1895, so a long time ago. Okay, I need to do our routine. So, yeah, so he's there one day, and in come to town was his traveling salesman. He had a little wagon, and it was pulled by 2 horses. And him and his wife are in front and pulling pulling this wagon into town, and they were traveling salesmen. I don't know what they sold, but they R18. They were there for a while, and unfortunately, one of the horses got loose. The guy had, 2 horses, and one got loose, went somewhere, couldn't find it. And well, what's he going to do? He's in a strange town, and needs to get his horse back. So he said, "I'll give $10 to anyone who can bring my horse back." I imagine in 1895, $10 was a lot of money. So another fact I would think is, my great-grandfather had lived there for a very long time. And I'm sure more than one horse has gotten loose. And maybe there's a place that the horses go. The logical place where the horse goes if it gets loose, right? It's in a little valley and stuff, so I don't think the horses can go too far. They kind of either go up the river or down the river. I don't know if horses like to go uphill or downhill. I don't know. Anyway, he probably knows where the horses go. So he rides off and he finds the guy's horse. Figured, great, I made $10. So he comes back into town to get his $10, and he can't find the salesman. So he takes the horse to his ranch and ties it up, or probably puts it in a pen. And so make sure I get R35. So he goes back into town and decides to stop by the saloon, and somewhere in there it happens that the R35 is over here. That somehow the salesman decides that nobody can find a horse that fast, and that the guy must have stolen the horse and then waited for him to offer a reward. Not a very nice thing to think. And my great uncle was not too pleased with that, and decided to go to the saloon and get drunk and complain that this guy was reneging on his $10 offer, and said some things. Then the salesman decided he's going to go get his horse. So he goes off to the ranch, my grandfather's ranch, and is going to grab the horse. Well, my grandfather gets on his horse, rides to the ranch, and catches the salesman trying to get his horse. And he's on horseback. The salesman's on the ground, but he's on horseback. He takes his horse and sticks it between the salesman and his horse. So his horse is now, with him on top of it, is between the two of them. Well, the salesman's getting madder and madder, R23, and reaches over and grabs the bridle of my grandfather's horse and tries to pull him to the ground. Pulling the bridle of a horse with somebody on it's a very, very dangerous thing to do. And so my great-grandfather takes out his 6-shooter revolver and smacks the guy on top of the head with the butt. Smack! The guy stumbles back. He's not too happy with what's going on now, and the two of them don't like each other now. So the salesman decides to shoot him. So he pulls out his gun, shoots at my grandfather. My grandfather takes his gun and he shoots at the other guy. A couple shots go by, and nobody's hit yet. But people are running around and hiding behind things, and a big shootout in the corral happens. It actually did take place at the ranch in a corral, and they shot at each other a few times, and there came a point where as my grandfather describes it, I could see his eye squint. So if you're pointing a gun at somebody and you squint the eye, that means you're just about to pull the trigger. And so he shot first and killed him dead. So he killed the traveling salesman. Well, the story differs between who saw what and who heard what. And they decided that my great-grandfather was guilty of murder. And so I guess there's debate on who shot first, whatever. And anyway, so a trial happened. And the jury came back and says, we can't decide. You know, you haven't presented. Some people thought yes, some people thought no. They ended up in a hung jury. And that was not too. So the district attorney was the one trying the case, right? It's the people v. so-and-so, right? And so he says, well, I'm going to try that guy again. I'm going to give it another go. I know he's guilty. And so they had a second trial. And at the second trial, the second jury said guilty. Guilty of murder. Well, my great-grandfather is guilty of murdering somebody. So his attorney, though, said, yeah, I don't think that's right. I think that the judge gave bad jury instructions. And he thought that it was a case of self-defense. So he says, let's take it to the Supreme Court of California. And he did, took it to the Supreme Court of California. And the judge looked at it there and agreed. The jury instructions were not right. And one of the reasons they weren't right was that there was no clear law on the books that described exactly what self-defense was and what self-defense wasn't. And so the judge at the Supreme Court of California said, I will define what self-defense is. It's one of these 5 things, and he describes these 5 scenarios that would qualify for self-defense. And so it came back to the local courtroom, and they had another trial. And the judge gave the correct instructions to the jury. And the jury said, what did I just do? R17, R21. The second jury said, well, we can't figure it out. And they were a hung jury. So, first jury was hung, second jury said guilty, third jury said hung, and the judge, the local judge, was now tired of this case. I think my grandfather was in jail this whole time too. I don't know. And he said, look, you've had 3 chances now, and this is not going well. You either try this guy tomorrow immediately, or you let him go. You drop the charges. And by then it was like, okay. And they dropped the charges. So my great-grandfather was now a free man and was not a murderer. He was found, I guess, not guilty, kind of by default, innocent until proven guilty, right? He was not proven guilty. Well, by then, he hated everybody in town. or a lot of them at least, certainly hated the prosecutor and stuff and figured they were just going to get him someday. He was not a happy camper. And so he decided, the hell with this town, I'm just going to leave. I'm going to get out of Dodge, right? I'm going to get out. So he packed up and got on a steamer, boat, went to Alaska because there was rumors of a gold rush in Alaska. So he went to the Alaskan gold rush and figured, I'll go do that instead. Instead of sheep farming, I'll go try to make money. And he did. He went to Alaska, and on his way back, the boat sank and he died. Great. But to this day, to this very day, the offspring of my great-grandfather, half of them think he did it and he's guilty of murder, and half of them think, no, he's an innocent man. And to this day, they're still mad at each other, believe it or not. And he's still a topic of conversation in town. Amazing. But anyway, if you are ever in California and accused of murder and you think it's self-defense, your attorney will actually go and look up that particular case. It is the quintessential case on self-defense, and it spells out what is and what isn't. Yep, my great-grandfather, the murderous horse thief, right? Yikes. There's a couple other stories on that side of the family. That side of the family never quite kept their nose clean. That's a good story. Definitely a good family story. All right. Okay, we did all of that. Now we're going to do this half. C3. C3. Yeah, my grandmother was dead. She died before I was born. So I never met her. And my grandfather had left her, so he was gone. I don't know where he went. So I never knew either one of my grandparents on that side of the family. But I did meet a great uncle once who lived on that property and knew about the shooting. He lived there. And he had a run-in with the law. Of course. R29. He was accused of... How do I explain this? So, you know, there's deer season, right? I'm not sure how it was back then, but there was certainly a season or a number of deer that you could kill for yourself. I don't know. There was some regulation on the number of deer that you could take, and he had violated that. He was said to be guilty of shooting too many deer and then selling the meat. I think the problem was that he sold the meat. So he was a good hunter, and then he would sell the meat to folks who aren't so good hunters. But somehow that wasn't kosher. So, but he went into prospecting as well. He became a gold miner. He went to the Alaskan gold rush, made a bunch of money. Q1. I need Q1. And I met him when he was 93 years old. And boy, he had a lot of good stories. But that was his only profession in life, was a prospector. He had a mining claim in Northern California, and it made enough money for him to survive. And yeah, he was 93 years old. Had an Indian motorcycle that he still rode, even at 93. And we went to visit his claim. He had 4 claims up near the Feather River in California. 4 consecutive claims. 2 claims on one side of the river and 2 claims on the other side of the river, and all the rights in the river. And he had a log cabin on the property that was 104 years old when I was there. Really cool old cabin. It was like from a movie set, right? It was very, very cool. And there were squatters on his land when we got there. We drove him up there, and there was a car there, or a truck, I think it was a truck, and got to get rid of these squatters here. But he had never moved from the old days. He had a revolver on his belt, strapped to his leg, and he pulled that revolver out and pointed it at those people and said, "You will remove yourself from my property," which they did. He was a crusty old guy. Some people thought he was crazy. He was just cantankerous. He found an abandoned cub once, black bear, put a chain around it and brought it into town. He was walking down Main Street with a bear cub on a chain. Ever since then, he was called the Crazy Bear Man. I knew him as CP. Q1 R30. R30. Oh, we've done that one. Where am I? Where am I here? I've lost track. R8. R8 potentiometer. Okay. Where's R8? There's a thing that's going to point to it here. R8. Potentiometer. Doesn't look like a potentiometer. Oh, it's right there. All right, must be in a bag somewhere. Yep, here we go. He taught me how to pan for gold, I should say. That was fun. I was in high school. And what? How does this mount? This is very confusing. How does this mount? Oh, this is not the... Oh. It's this potentiometer. There we go. That makes more sense. Yeah, I wanted him to teach me how to pan for gold. I thought I'd get rich too, but... Took me to the river, and... Of course, I had to carry everything. Right? He's 93. He makes me carry everything. So I got pickaxe and pans and stuff. We go out to the river, and he goes, "Dig here." And I said, "But the river's over there." We were like 100 yards away from the river. He goes, "Dig here." I go, "Well, okay." I go, "Why? Why here?" He goes, "Well," I said, "You know, the river's over there, and we're digging here. That doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't gold, like, shouldn't you, like, be in the river?" He goes, "Well," he goes, "that's where the river is now, but this is where the river used to be." And then I thought, I think this guy knows what he's talking about, because that made a lot of sense to me. This is not... am I here? Go here. Oh, I just put this on. Okay. Yeah. This is where the rubber used to be.